Awesome. And then I'm going to go ahead and record to our Facebook group, and I will start us off, and you'll know what to do every step of the way. I'll let you know here when we are live. Background work here. Terry, and I pronounced this Staton, right?
Staten.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah.
that's not how I practice.
Oh,
No, I'm just joking. Oh gosh. Jeez. All right.
uh,
Staton. All right. So I always tell
yeah.
people before if I say it the wrong way again as we're live, just know that it's not on purpose. It's just
I've heard worse. I'm telling you.
have you don't know.
Yes.
All right, let's see. Engage art, and we're gonna go live to our Facebook group. All right. I think we are. Esther, can you tell me? Can you tell me if we're live?
Mm, it doesn't tell me this time, so I'm guessing we are, though.
Okay,
Did
let's.
not see it. Sorry.
All right. Esther's usually my guide to help me with that. Sometimes I can't tell. Um, let's see. Let's try one more time. Page art and go live. All right, there we go.
Yeah, there it goes.
Okay,
You're
all
live.
right. Thank you, Esther. I appreciate you doing that for me like almost every time. Okay. All right. So, everyone, I want to welcome everyone. Hi, Juan, to our very first Engage Art Shop, where we come to learn a new skill, or maybe it's something you already know. But we're excited because our first artist is Terry Staton. And Terry Staton is going to guide us today in our first art shop, but I'm going to step to the side and he will lead us this entire way. And I'm so excited. So, even if you're not a visual artist, it is okay. I'm not a visual artist. I believe that Terry's going to guide us all the way. So, let me tell you all who Terry is before I turn it over to him. So in 1990, Terry Staton decided to walk away from the business world and focus on his art. He slowly began getting commissions and later opened a studio slash store and broadening his horizons with airbrushing and mural art, just to name a few. He also taught painting classes in the studio and in the local community. He creates logos, illustrates books, and digital paintings, just to name a few. Terry says, I cannot mention all of these talents without lifting up the Lord who has given me these gifts. It is with deep acknowledgement that I give our Lord all the praise for my talent and for my life. Y'all help me welcome Terry Staton. Terry, woo!
Hello there. It's good to be here. I'm so I'm almost to the point where I can't believe that I got to be picked to be the first one uh, to do this class. But I'm honored to be here and excited. And I thank you guys for joining. And I hope you have a good time learning something new. And if it's not new to you, maybe you find a little technique or something that you can take with you. So that's what we want to do. So first of all, what we want to work on is the fact that our world is made up of shapes. I mean, if you look at anything in your room, outside, it's going to be basic shapes. We're going to talk about like circles and squares and triangles and rectangles, and it's so simple. The thing about the basic shapes is that they don't have to look like this in order to form whatever you want to make. You can change that by making an oval or cutting off part of the square. That's the thing that makes it unique. So what we want to do now, though, is we want to think in the realm of three-dimensional. So we want to take that circle and turn it into a sphere, the square into a cube, triangle into a pyramid, and the rectangle into a column and or cylinder. So that's what you can do with these things, and it's not real hard. It might seem so at first, but I'll tell you the simple one right now is the circle turning into a sphere, because all you're doing is drawing the circle and doing the shading, and it's not hard to do. So what we want to do is to start with that circle. We're going to take and just draw the circle. We're going to come around and draw the circle, and it doesn't have to be perfect. You can work on that in your leisure. Some circles don't have to be perfect anyways. So
Terry,
that's what
are we
you do
doing
to
it with
with.
you right now? Are we doing as you draw the circle?
You can draw that with me if you like. I just want to give you an example of what we got going there. But here's the thing. What I like to do whenever I'm drawing something like a circle is do the motion first. Do that first and get familiar with that, and then lay the pencil down and then start drawing that circle.
Oh, okay.
That way you get the memory muscle going, and there lies the shapes that you can work with. So that's just as easy as pie. Even if it's not quite right, you can always erase and check it out. I like to use what I'm using here, just so you can see, is a charcoal pencil. But I like to use HB or a 2B pencil. And when you're using those, you can get some pretty good lines. But if you want to take and go to a harder pencil, like a 3H, that will allow you to draw the construction lines, and you just do it real lightly, and then you can erase those later after you've drawn the finalized pieces. So that would help you out. So here we've got the circle. Now, how do we make it into a sphere? Quite simple, as we start shading. Now, shading techniques might vary. I have a particular shading technique, and I do everything at an angle. Now, a lot of people may want to try to do that, and that's fine, but you have to have the touch when you're doing that. So I'm going to start lightly and just follow along and just do a little light, and we're just doing like a crescent moon shape, just like that. It doesn't have to be a lot, and you don't have to go to the edge. Leave that little space there, just so you're having what we call reflective light. So you do that, and then come back and then just work in that secondary shadow, which is going to be like the furthest point away from the light, and just work that in. And you can do that, blending it in more and more. It doesn't take much just to go in there and do a little bit more. And if you want to enhance the experience of the sphere having a lot of light on it, you can take and try to erase this part right here where the light is hitting it. We're talking light coming down from here and letting it hit, and just kind of get that lightened up a little bit, so it looks like it's almost going to disappear because there's too much brilliance there. So just kind of work that out. Not hard to do. This again is the simplest, because you're just doing those two crescent moon shapes, shading it in, and then if you want to, you can blend this in a little closer so that it looks like it's more of a transition instead of just a harsh line. So that should work out pretty good for that particular shape. And again, doesn't have to be perfect, doesn't have to be pretty, just gets the idea. And the more you practice this, the better you'll get. So that would be number one. Number two is the cube. And if you've got your sphere all drawn up, and if you haven't, that's fine. But we want to go on to the next, because we're going to start doing some shapes here shortly that's going to allow us to do something later on that we'll be familiar with. But here's what we're going to do. We're going to start with the cube. And I'm going to do it without the ruler. Please use your ruler if you feel that you need it. But I'm going to take and draw two lines, one here and one over here, just like that. Okay. Now, with that, what we want to do is we want to make an imaginary line, just kind of, with your ruler, very lightly, draw a line across the top and across the bottom, just straight across. Doesn't have to be pretty. You don't have to really see it. You just got to know it's there. Now, if we can find the midpoint of between those two lines, then we want to go up above what line we just drew and down below just enough, about the same distance, and do the same thing down here, but just do the one. You don't need to do two. Just do the one below that line. And then we're going to start connecting the dots. So if you've got all those in place, got your dots in line, all in place, then we're going to start connecting the dots, and we'll start at the top by going from this dot over to this line, this dot over to this line, this dot over here, and last one to top, just like that. Now we're going to come down, and we're going to take this line and go to that dot that we created, and the other one over here, and then we're going to connect these dots right here, just straight on down, and now we have a cube. Quite simple, not too bad. A little easier than the sphere because it's straight lines, and if you've got a nice ruler that wants to do what you tell it to do, it'll work just fine. So once we have that, if everybody's got that, we'll go into trying to shade. And again, I try to figure out where my light source is. So that's when I just take and I usually just say, okay, light source is coming from this side. So that means everything's going to be light on this side. It'll be darker on the opposite side. So that's what we're going to work with tonight, is that it's all going to come from the same direction. So let's start off with this. We're going to take and say that since the light's coming from this side, that it's going to hit the top. And if it's going to hit the top of the cube, then what we want to do is we want to leave that pretty much light as can be. Won't even touch that. So that's the easy part. Now, this is going to be indirectly hit by the light, so it's not going to get as much light. We're going to have a little shading to it. Again, I'm just going to take and do a little bit of this shading where I'm just doing diagonal lines going down. And there we have that side. And it's not hard to do that. It doesn't have to be pretty. If you want to, some people take and they smudge it with their fingers to get it nice and even if you want that. Sometimes you want to use, just keep the texture, you can do that as well. The other side, since it's away from the light source, we're going to take and do it a little bit darker, and the lines will be a little bit closer together. So automatically, we're creating planes instead of just lines, and it starts to get three-dimensional automatically. Just like that. Not hard at all. And all of a sudden, you have something that looks like a cube. And you can go in there and lighten the lines up a little bit. Do it like what I've got up here, where it's just a little bit more muted and everything. But, just for demonstration, we're just getting it bold here so you can see the difference. The same thing happens with our pyramid. And I don't know if you've got the cube done. If you're that close, then we can move on. But let's talk about the different shapes and what you can do to them before we do the pyramid. We have so many that you can take like a pyramid and chop the top off, and it becomes a different shape altogether. We can do the same thing with a cylinder, cutting it off to the side or whatever at an angle, and changes that. We can take and squeeze one end of a cylinder and let the other flare out, and it becomes more like a trumpet shape. So those kind of things is what we do in order for that to work. But they're still the basic shapes. They're really basic. So here's what we're going to do with the pyramid, which is going to be quite interesting, because all you have to do is find 2 points that's straight up and down, and then just draw a line down like that. And we're going to make, from that, we're going to make a flat looking arrow. And the arrow is going to go from here over to a point there, and here over here, just like that. That's all we're going to do to start our pyramid. So if you got that, it's not hard to get those, and they don't have to be equidistant. You can make it any way you want to. Just make sure that they're not going too far up. It won't look like it's sitting down anywhere. Then we want to take and go from the point of the pyramid down to the arrow part. And we want to do the same thing over here. And now we have the pyramid. And just like that, it's a shape without doing anything to it. But because we have a light source coming from over here, we're going to go ahead and try to shade that in. And again, you don't have to be real pretty about this, depending on texture. And we're going to talk about that in just a little bit. But here we go. And now we have the pyramid. And we also have the cylinder, which came from the rectangle you see up here. The cylinder is not hard, but it does lend it's a little problematic, just like with the sphere, because it's not a flat surface, it curves, and we got to make it look like it curves. So here's what we're going to do. We take and just draw very lightly, draw the rectangle. Okay, once you have the rectangle in place, we want to do the same thing that we did with the box, but for different reasons. We're going to put a dot above and below, just barely above that line, and in the middle between these two vertical lines. And then we're going to put one down below, same thing, just down just enough. And instead of doing the straight lines, we're going to do an oval. So again, take your hand and run around between those two lines, those vertical lines, and just kind of work around until you get that feeling, and then follow those lines around and create your oval. Now down below, we're just going to do a half moon type of thing. So we just come down here and do that. And then there is your cylinder. Mine's a little bit wonky. I don't know how that happened. Okay. Now, because we're doing this particular shape with lighting, we don't have flat surfaces, so we can't just separate it like this. And it's not completely round. It has sort of a combination between all three of these. So what we're going to do is I'm going to just take and do a very light imaginary line down the middle. And lightly, we're going to take and do a shadow just by doing those diagonal lines all the way down, but don't go to the edge. Leave a little bit like up in here, just so that we get a little reflective light. Now, once we've got that, we can go back and take half of that and do just a little bit darker, just like that. And we go all the way down. And it starts making it more solid. Now, since the light's coming from up here, this is the farthest away from that light source, so it's going to be the darkest. So we're going to take and do half again of that area we just shaded, and we're going to go all the way down. And there we go. And again, if you want to blend that in just a little bit, you can. Get that looking to where it's darker on this side than it is on the right-hand side. So that gives you the basic ideas of just shapes that we're familiar with, things like that. So what we want to do while we're thinking about shapes, we have shading techniques, and they're not like there's the only reason you would use this different styles is to create different textures. It's not uh, this one versus this one versus this one. Whatever makes you feel good is usable. But in any of these, just like this one, if we take and draw us a square and we just want lines to represent a shadow or just to solidify that square, that's all we have to do. It's quick and easy, and it gets the job done, kind of thing. So that's not too bad of a deal for us to work with. But if we want to, say, fill the area more to make it look more solid, we can draw our square, and we can do the same just by getting those lines this way and then turn right back around and do the opposite. And now you've made us look darker than it did there. The third option is to take, and I'm going to take and use a charcoal stick, but we're going to take and just fill it in. Now you can do the same technique with the side of your pencil. If you've got a sharp enough pencil, just take the side of your pencil and rub it like this, and you can get a nice even shading technique. But using these charcoal sticks work really nice because, boy, you can just fill that in as quick as you want with no problem. Now for the last one, and there's many other shading techniques, but you don't need all of them. And some of them, like for my preference, I do like to use this a lot. And what I do in this case is I will either put them close together or farther apart, or even just very lightly to get the same results. So you can do that with any of these to make it work for you. Now for our last one, want to work with what they call stippling. And stippling is nothing more than just putting dots on the paper. And you can do them in a row or you can do them randomly. It doesn't matter. It just depends on how your drawing is going to look afterwards. And of course, the closer you do the stippling, the darker it looks. And then if you do it further apart, then it doesn't look as dark, and you can give a gradient look to it without having to do a whole bunch of cross hatching or anything like that. So that kind of gives you an idea of different types of shading that you can do. And I think it works good on just about any drawing that you want to work with. Some of the things that we do with shading as well is to take and do a heavy line and then go off into a nice thin line. You can shade so much just doing that, and it doesn't take any effort just to do that kind of a situation. This works out really well. So, does anybody have any questions about what we've seen thus far?
No, I don't think so. Want to welcome Gavin. Hi, Gavin. And Sandrine is here as well. And so, Terry, this is all laying the groundwork, right, for what you're going to have us create. Is that right?
Yes, that gives you an idea of the shapes. Now what we're going to do is we're actually going to draw shapes that will be included in what we're going to draw so that we get familiar with it. So that's what we'll start with. And the first thing I want to start with is doing a cube. So if you get a fresh piece of paper or turn your paper over and use the back side, try to be frugal sometimes. So we want to do that. And we want to just experiment with drawing a cube. So the first thing we want to come up with is drawing our two vertical lines. And I'm going to take and just draw up here two lines. Now, I didn't measure that, but if you do measure, this is like 3.5 inches, and then that's 4, and that's probably a good ratio. Just be about a 1/2 inch shorter than what you would be, because it will look too tall. And again, it just depends on the object you're drawing, but that's just what we're going with at this point. Again, with that a nice little line here, very lightly, top and bottom, so that we have access point that we can go to the middle, just roughly, and go up a little bit and down below a little bit on that line, and down, just directly down all the way, and just a little bit below that bottom line there. So that's the groundwork for the cube. And all we have to do is start connecting those dots. Once we connect all the dots, then we've got a nice little cube. And the thing of it is, if it's too tall, here's when you can be a surgeon if you'd like, and you can just come in here and cut it right there and right there and erase this line. And there you've made the cube to a size that you like, or whatever works. But at least you have options. It's not cut and dry if you draw a line. That's why I always say use a lighter pencil first when you're drawing construction lines. That way you can erase them pretty easily. But that works out pretty good. I like that. Now, you remember when we were drawing all the other shapes, we had the cylinder. Now, I would like to draw a cylinder, but it's going to be different than what we had before. And it's going to start out with the lines only being that tall. That's your vertical lines. So if you try that, I know you're probably looking at it going, that's not going to be much of anything. but here we go. We're going to take and draw that line across there. And then again, above just a little bit and below just a little bit. Of course, draw that other line and draw a dot below that. And here we go with our hand, start going around between the two vertical lines and those dots. Get the feeling that you like, and then just start drawing that oval. Just like that. And then the bottom, do your crescent moon, just like that. Try to match these up the best you can, but again, you can always alter it as you go. But basically what we've done is we created a pancake, but you'll understand later why. So here we go. We've got our cylinder, which is squished down quite a bit. Our next one is going to be a cylinder, which is going to have another cylinder attached to it. So here we're going to take and just lightly draw two vertical lines, just like this. And we're going to go the same route that we did with this one, just going to be a shorter distance between the top. So here we go again, doing our little dots, top and bottom, make sure they're lined up with each other all the way down. And as we do that, we're going to turn around and we're going to make that oval at the top and the crescent moon at the bottom. Now, because of what we're doing, we're going to add another cylinder and we're going to extend it just a little bit. So take about a third and draw a crescent moon and go up from there and just use your eye and draw another one. Let it extend past the previous one, and then we're going to take and draw another one on there. And it's just about like making a sleeve out of it. So we do something like that. it makes it kind of nice to be able to take an object and add another one to it, just like that. So we have 3 different shapes that we're going to get ready to use here in just a little bit, but we've got one more we need to look at. And that is one that we haven't done yet, but it's similar to the pyramid. And it's going to be a cone. And basically, instead of doing the pyramid as we did before, I'm going to take and draw a horizontal line just like this. And you can follow right along. Draw your horizontal line. And let's take and do a dot, top and bottom, coming back just about, well, whatever the distance would be, but just come back a little bit on those dots. And then instead of doing a point to make an arrow, we're going to take and we're going to make a nice curve, a crescent moon, just like that. Okay, and that crescent moon is going to help us. That's the base of our cone. And then we take from that, we take these points that we created with the curved line, and we're going to take and draw that just like this all the way to the point and back. Now, because we're going to be working with this again later on, we're going to try to do something else. We're going to take and come up and do another dot and work our way around and make the base of that show up like it's facing toward us. And if we wanted to, we could shade all of that to make it look like it was hollowed out. So basically, that's what we have right there. And we can do a lot more with that. Now, another one, well, as I was going to say, what we can do here is we can do a little bit of a surgery on this one, and we can take and cut that line and be able to do basically a megaphone type situation, which I think is pretty good. And these are basic shapes of what we'll be dealing with in our next little project here. So if nobody has any questions up to this point, what I'd like to do is just talk about the item that we're going to be drawing.
I don't have a question, Terry, but I do have a comment. And that is, as someone who's not a visual artist, I have a lot of respect for visual artists right now. And I know we're just doing shapes, but lots of respect to all the visual artists on the call.
It's a lot of people will say that we're all the time looking at things differently than most. And I just think we're looking for it, is more than what it is, seems like, because it is hard. And it takes a lot of practice. So, what you learn tonight, if you take it and practice all week long, pretty soon the difference between tonight and Friday night would be a major difference, especially if you just keep at it, So that's the big thing. I don't want to discourage anybody.
No, no, I know we have some really talented people on here, everybody. And I just want to say so much respect to you, because I know this is just the ground foundation. So
yeah. Okay. Well, if we could take and show it. Oh, go ahead.
I'm more a musician than a drawing, but I'm amazing that how good my pyramid in my cone looks. I never thought, but I really have a difficult time with the cube, but. I just want to say that it's amazing how I can make a cone now. So it's very, very great.
Well, see, there you go. Yeah.
I know.
There you go.
For all of us who don't do it.
Yeah, that's what it's all about, though. I mean, if you do it enough times, yeah. I think it's great. When I first learned the techniques, just, oh, I lost that. When I learned the techniques of just doing this particular cube where you do the dots and everything, I thought it to be a little bit odd, but it is really the best way to learn. And when you get to the point where you understand the properties of a cube, you won't even have to do the dots. You'll just start drawing it. You know, I draw them all the time, and it doesn't bother me at all. But if you learn something just in doing a cube, that's great.
Yeah.
So I like that, you know.
Juan, I think me and you are the only ones that that aren't the visual artists. So.
But anyway, if we can, let's have a look at the item that we want to draw tonight, and I'll explain a bit about that.
That's my cue, right?
Yeah, go ahead. Yes.
That's my cue, you all. I need it up on the screen though, Terry. Right now your camera's off, I think.
Oh my goodness. Okay. Well, I'm on, but I don't see.
Maybe just switch the button then if we.
I lost me. Okay, so I'm there. I just don't see the.
Yeah. Sorry, guys. We practiced early. We got this.
Yeah, yeah,
it's coming. We like did a whole practice session.
Maybe that will do it.
I'll do this. Ask you to start your. It's just that you haven't started your video. I just sent the message for you to start your video. All right.
Let's see. There we go.
There we go. All right.
I knew it was there somewhere. Okay, so here's what we have. This is what I call a phone Victrola or a phonola, if you want. It's something that I use to demonstrate just by showing you what you do with it. You take your phone and stick inside, and when you turn the phone on, it plays music and comes out through the sound horn. Now, I made this so that I could have music when I wanted to go places and people could hear that. So it's kind of fun to be able to do that. So what we're going to do tonight is we're going to draw this, and in hopes with all those that learned all these cubes and things that we can put something together. So what I want to do is, if you look at that, I want you to start with drawing the cube, the big cube. Just I'll point to just draw this area right here, and don't worry about anything else but just this cube. And if you figure that out, then you've got it made. If you haven't, I'll show you on my paper how I arrived at what we're going to do. So I'm going to go ahead and start drawing my two vertical lines. And that puts them in place where I want them. Try to position your cube kind of at the bottom part of your page, allowing you some room to do the horn and everything on top. Now, also, because we haven't done anything different, we're going to take a third line, and we're going to go ahead and put it in, but we're not going to put it directly in the middle. So if you measure this, and I'll measure this. This is 8 inches long, but it's not even. It's 3 3/4 to this middle line. So go just below. If you're doing any measurement, whatever the length is, go just a little bit below the halfway mark and draw your third vertical line. And that should get you the starts of your cube. Now, what I would do After that is just between the two outside vertical lines, go ahead and draw a very light line across the top. And where middle line is, again, draw just down below your horizontal line and just above the top. And then we can start connecting the dots. We won't connect the top one as much as we're going to worry more about the bottom one, which is going to be, for me, it's actually lower. So it's going to be right there. So I made a little bit of a blooper there, but anyway, and we do that, and we're going to do the same thing and come up this way. And draw our other line. Those should meet right there in the middle. Also, down below, we want to do the same thing. They should be parallel. These two lines, the top and the bottom, should be parallel to each other, running in the same direction. And we're doing that today because we're not trying to do forced perspective. We're just trying to get it to look three-dimensional. My pencil. Okay. Do we have that?
Yes.
Now I'm going to throw a little wrench in the deal, because we're not done with making cubes, but we're not going to make full cube. We're just going to do the front side so we can see what's going on. But we're going to take this top line and extend it out just a little bit on either end, just a little, and do a vertical line going up just a little bit. If you're doing, this one's going to be like an eighth of an inch from just because I'm drawing on large paper, but it's an eighth of an inch. And we're going to do the same thing in the middle here. And then in order for it to work, we're going to take and draw and connect those lines to the center. And the same way on the other side to the center. And we've created another plane on top of the other, our basic cube, basically. Now we have one more at the top we're going to do. So we're going to extend this line again, just a hair. Two more vertical lines on the outside and one in the middle. And we want to connect those all the way to the middle. Again, trying to be as parallel to what we just drew. And just like that. Again, sometimes it just doesn't go exactly the way you want. You can always add and change those lines to make them fit. Now, to complete the top of this cube, what we want to do is go straight to the back, and we're going to go up again with that imaginary line right here. Kind of go the same distance, top and bottom, make that dot, and then connect those lines to the outside edge. And there we have a cube that we have a nice little fancy lid to it, if you will. But we're not done with that.
Terry, just giving you a time check that we have 15 minutes left.
Okay. So what we want to do is we want to keep on going down here and do the same thing. But what we want to do is just get these lines started. Just little parallel lines to what we've already drawn. Oops. And let them extend a little bit past the box. And my cork is not holding well. Okay, something like that. And then we want to take and do a little bit of a hook back from that kind of goes behind those vertical lines that we just made earlier. Now let's go down a little bit. That could be the 1/8 of an inch or 1/4 of an inch, whatever you're working with, probably even less. And again, start making those lines, connect those. Oh. And there we are. And one more time so that we can make this look like this, only upside down. So we start by coming out with just a little bit of a line, just going, following the one that we've made up here. It kind of sticks and goes around to the back a little bit. And then we want to take and follow the same parallel. If I can get my pencil to go down there, just like that. And again, over here. And follow that all the way down. This time we're going to go about a 1/2 inch because we're going to do two different things. We're going to separate that 1/2 inch with a line here and in the middle. And then we're going to draw lines to match those, just like this. And then we're going to make little boxes, little cubes right here at the bottom, just by drawing a little arrow first, just like this, a little arrow and a little arrow, just like that. So now we have the basic foundation of the Victrola. Now for the top, the squatty cylinder that we did, we're going to take and draw those little lines just like this. And we're going to look and find our midpoint. Draw lines to the top and bottom of that. And this I know will be very hard to do, but we're going to try it anyways. We're going to take and try to take and follow that with our little dots that we're going to make here, because we got a line here, dot above and below, and then just below here. And we're going to try to follow that and make an oval as best we can. And then we'll do the half moon at the bottom, just like that. Okay, so that we can zip right along, let's make the cylinder, again, just with the two vertical lines. And in order for it to look like a cylinder without doing any shading, we're going to take and do some lines like this. And this is those lines that we did earlier where we took and let them extend above part of that to make it look like it's a coupling or something that's a sleeve on top of what we already have. And I think, yeah, this is the same thing where this kind of hooks on top, and I want to do the same thing here, a little cylinder right here. And these are things that, you know, play around with it a little bit when you're drawing your sample shapes and everything. Do them at different angles so that you get an idea of what's going on. And then we want to take and do like an elbow just by just connecting those, and it shouldn't be that hard at all. I say that because I've done it a few times, so it's not that hard at all. But so let's take and if you remember what we did earlier with the cone, where we drew the two lines of the triangle or supposed triangle, and then we started making that opening, and we chopped it off just like that. Well, that's the same thing we're going to do here. We're going to draw it like that first, and then draw a circle at the end of it for your opening. Now, I know that doesn't make sense right now, but hopefully when we get to the point of shaping, it'll look a little bit better. But once you get the cone in place, draw it lightly, and then the circle. Then what we want to do is we want to start shaping that. And we got to break it up because I think it's in 6 different planes. We're only going to see 3 of them on this end. So we're going to take and draw. We're going to kind of scallop this by just taking from the back of that oval, and we're going to just swoop it down. And then on the bottom side, we're going to swoop it up. And then we're going to do 2 more lines just like that. 1 here and 1 here, leaving the center one a little bit wider than the 2 top and bottom because it's closest to us when we can see all of that. The next thing we want to do is the trumpet part. Has 6 parts to it, and we're going to take, once we've got that circle that we drew here, we're going to take and draw another circle, but we're going to take and start that circle right here to the edge of the previous one. Don't go to the off to the side here, go right up to the edge and then draw it so you got a wide spot over here and nothing over here. Okay, once we do that, then we needed to dissect it top and bottom. And then over here, we're going to go this way and right here, and then here and here. It doesn't have to be equidistant, but we're looking for at least something that these are across from each other. Once we've done that, we'll take and connect that by just going and swooping into the cone that we made earlier. Just like that. And then we can start from every point that we've created here. Then we can start with scalloping, but not all of them get scalloped the same way. What we're going to do is we're going to take one and we're going to scallop it this way at the top. The next one, the same thing. Then we're going to go around and do the same thing. Here, just a little bit less. And this one goes the opposite direction. Okay. And then we've got this one, which is by and large the biggest one, and it's going to just kind of slightly go this way. It's almost flat, but that's where we go with it. And from that also we have, if you look right in through here, it folds out towards us. So what we want to do is we want to take and create that line as well. And that's going to, I know this is a little confusing right now, but we get some of this out of the way and you start seeing everything taking shape. Now, let's get that. We still have the arm of the Victrola, and we want to just take, and it basically is a long cone. So we're just going to take long lines and just draw them out. And it really won't look like a cone until you shade it, which would be something where you could see shading here, because that's the problem with a lot of these shapes. You don't know what they are until you actually have shading to that. But from that cone, we're going to take and draw a rectangle just like this at an angle. Just whatever you see, however you see it on the drawing. And then we're going to take and do another one at the end of that, just a little rectangle. And at the very end, we're going to take and draw a flat cylinder, but we're going to do it from side view. This way, we draw our little lines again from those 2 horizontal lines. Top and bottom, draw your circle, and then your half moon. Oops, get that on there, just like that. The only other thing we have left as far as making a finished piece is the cradle that holds up the arm. And basically it's just doing an arch this way and making like a very stylized Y, just like that. And a little piece there that goes underneath shows that it's got depth to it. And one more item is just another little small cylinder, just like that and like that. Now, the only last thing that, if you want to include that in here, is the sound hole where the phone went in, and that's just using a nice long rectangle. And that basically makes the whole thing for you. Now, it's not shaded or anything like that, which I was hoping we could get to that, but I think we're going to run close to out of time, which is really amazing how time flies. But you get the idea. And if you didn't get as far as this because it was taking too much to get all the information, then, you know, find something similar to this and just practice with it, because it's not hard once you've done it a couple of times, and take the basic shape idea and run with that, because it's once you understand the basic shapes and you start stacking them like we did here, then it's not bad. And you can do it by just taking some of these and actually building these with all the construction lines back here, but just know that you do them light enough that you can erase it later on, and then nobody will know where those lines were. So basically that's it for that. If there's anybody that has any questions or would like to see something else that we're, you know, like how I would shade some of this quickly or whatever.
Can you all please help me thank Terry Staton tonight for being our first artist in our art shop? Terry, that was amazing. That was really hard work for me, who's not a visual artist. I know all the visual artists are like, what? But I don't know if we have time for people to share maybe what they have. I feel very insecure because Juan has left and I have no one else.
Oh no.
Oh wait, oh great. One of your grandkids. Okay, let me pin it. Oh, wonderful job.
Let me see
awesome.
Which kid did that?
I hold it up again.
What's that?
Oh, look at that. Wow.
Nice.
That one's
wow.
Oh, good job. Nice.
My goodness. That's impressive.
No one else wants to share with us. Oh, great job. One of our visual, I know, hey, Gavin. I don't know if me and Gavin have met, but Sandrine, I know you're on. Esther, does anyone else want to share? All right, I will pin it. Hold on, let me get to it so I can pin it up. Oh, nice. Esther has some shading there. Okay.
Oh my goodness.
I said that as if I know what I'm talking about, Esther.
Oh, yeah. No, that.
Right. Okay, I'll share.
Yes, please do.
I ran out of room. So embarrassing. I'm very embarrassed. I ran out of room, and then Esther put see how I blame you, Esther. Esther put a message in there about Bob Ross, and then I started, and I said he literally referenced Bob Ross earlier, so I started typing, and I just, I ran out of room.
But hey, there you go. Yeah. Look at that.
Juanita, that's amazing.
Yeah,
I've been taught by this man my entire life, and this is all I got because I was taking care of kids.
Oh, keep it up. Let me pin it.
Oh, it's almost done.
Oh my!
It takes a lifetime to learn sometimes.
That is his daughter. Thank you for that. What about Gavin, Sandrine? You don't have to share. But I do want to open up in our last 30 seconds. Does anyone have any comments or anything for Terry?
Harry, you need to get a squirrel and you need to y'all need to always add some happy little trees.
Okay, I'll remember that in the next one.
Oh, I love it. Sandrine, I see
That's
you.
good.
Did you have any comments or questions before we leave?
I would say that that's admirable. Wow, so impressive with that. It's
Yeah.
really amazing. It's a lot of work.
Yes. Yes.
Oops.
Wait, Sandrine, are you a visual artist?
Yeah.
Okay, that makes me feel better. Okay. Oh, that was a lot of physical energy for me. I think because I was trying to concentrate so much because I'm not used to doing visual art. I mean, I have so much respect for visual artists. I really do. I really, really do. That's a great.
Well, I mean, I guess when you do it so many times, it's second nature. But I do think that everybody has a little bit of something that they can contribute to the art world. It might not be what we consider true art, but definitely you might just play with it and you get comfortable, and then all of a sudden you find that you can do something like that.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, I want to thank you, Terry, so much for being our first artist to help us with our art shop, just something that we wanted to offer to our community. And I think there's also a skill in being able to teach. And so you taught really well. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. Yeah.
Yes. Do you
it
have
was
any
a pleasure
final
being.
comments? Sorry.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Terry. Any final comments?
I enjoyed being here. I thank you all for coming because it just means a lot. It set me up for the things that I want to do, and I feel like I'm comfortable with that, and I just enjoyed it, and I'm just pleased. I'm blessed to be able to do this, and I thank each and every one of you. And all I want to say is just please practice whatever you do. Take this and just run with it. Practice. It could be simple things first, but just practice, and it should come to you to where you can say, "Hey, I can do that."
Absolutely.
I'm just curious. I have like a little question for you. It's like, what kind of thing do you like to draw the most?
Oh my. Anything and everything. I showed this with Renika earlier. This is my current piece that I'm doing right now.
Beautiful.
And it's a painting on wooden board, and it's going to be done just in the sepia tones. But I love anything that has people in them. So that's a big thing for me. But this is an enjoyable piece. This is something that I like doing, and I'll probably do a lot more different ones like that. But
that's awesome.
Yeah, anything. I don't have a favorite thing. Whatever I'm doing at the moment is always my favorite thing.
I love it. Esther, did you have a comment? I couldn't tell if you. Okay. All right. Well, thank you all so much. And speaking of wood burning, on the 25th of this month, which is in a couple of Tuesdays, we have Gail Jordan back as our featured artist, who is a pyrography artist, which is wood burning. So
wow. Okay.
Calendars for that. That'll be awesome. And then next week, Cooper Wan's bilingual Bible cluster, who was just on, we have Polly Hedge, who has a powerful piece that she has created for that Bible cluster on next Monday. Terry, I want to thank you, and I'm going to pray for us, and then we will go. And it's great to see your beautiful grandchildren on here. Yes, Lord, we thank you so much for Terry. We thank you for his family. We thank you for his gift, Lord, a gift that he can pass down. Thank you for his time, his commitment to art, to creativity. And Lord, honoring you in that and lifting your name high and saying this gift comes from you. Thank you for everybody who joined tonight, Lord, whether it was hard for some of us or very easy. We thank you for the time to be together and to also just be with you, our great creator, and to be with each other. Watch over us this night, that we would sleep well and be safe. In Jesus' name, amen. We love you guys. Have a good night. Terry, thank you. We will be in touch.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate
Bye.
Everybody, have a good night. Thank you, Terry. That was
Bye bye.
amazing. Amazing.